Welcome back to Alcove. Today, we're talking about lists, like lists on lists. The thing about lists, keeps me organized. They give me some direction. They used to feel more like this overbearing control factor that I've been thankfully able to adjust my mindset on. Even with much of the same lists still persisting, I've been able to put in a lot of work and change that mindset that I ultimately have about these. And so I have a list for cleaning my house, because the cleaner my house is, the better my mental health is. There's a strong relationship between these two, because if I can come home and it's clean and organized, then I feel far more empowered to tackle my other responsibilities, and there's a lot less guilt about relaxing. I have a list for homework because I wanted to make a career change, and I made the decision to get another bachelor's degree, this time in software engineering. And now there's so much that I have to do every week that I have to have a list. Otherwise, things are going to get dropped off, and I'm going to, not be learning as much as I had, had hoped, and I'm not going to be, performing as well as I need to in my classes. And I have a list for watching every anime aired by Toonami, because I remember as a kid sneaking out of my bedroom and praying to God the TV volume was low and wouldn't blare when I turned it on, so I could watch anime in the middle of the night while my mom was asleep. Thank you to Toonami for introducing me to anime. I have a list for every race, culture, and religion and more that's in my world of Alorum that I still need to flesh out, because the world has been my life's work, and in some ways I have been building on it since I was 6 years old, and I am determined to finish the foundation within this next year. It has gone through so many iterations over the years, and it is finally at a point where I think this is original, this makes sense, this is good world building. And I'm ready to go. I'm ready to finish it. And thank you to all of my, the dozens of friends that have helped shape this world through D&D and other games. And I'm excited to, have this list in place so that I can actually finish the work on this world. I have a list for video games I want to play, because I am trying to relearn how to enjoy playing video games again. I miss using this medium to relax, and I enjoy someone else's creativity through the medium of video games. I have a list for books I want to read, because D&D modules have a very long recommendation list to help me be a better storyteller, and I want to read every John Grisham novel he's ever written. I have a list for board games I want to buy, because board games remind me of a quality time with my family I spent while growing up, and now as an adult I collect board games and make space for community often through board game nights. Board games have become an incredibly important part of my life. I have a list for national parks I want to go to, because I love the natural world. It's been an incredible inspiration for Alorum in so many ways. Whether it's pictures of something beautiful I saw, or nature documentaries, and taking the parts of these natural, animal kingdoms and reusing those and modifying them for Alorum. The natural world has given so much to what my world is. And I collect a pin and add a sticker to my Wondery Outdoors water bottle with each new park I go to, and I just want a water bottle full of those stickers. I have a list for vinyls I want to buy if I ever buy a record player, even though I know I'll never buy one. I have a list for podcast ideas that I think would be fun, but since I can't possibly do them all, I'm recording the pilots and sharing them here to at least know what it would be like to create these. So anyway, lists have always served as a means of survival for me. I've been so busy my entire adult life that if I didn't have lists everywhere around me, I could have never survived. While I was in college the first time, I helped start 3 different honor societies, served in student government, interned, had a kitchen job, restarted my fraternity, held together an unhealthy relationship, and still managed to graduate with a 3.84. All because of lists on top of lists. And today, I'm the president of my fraternity chapter's alumni board, which means I manage the facility the undergraduates live in. I'm in charge of fundraising and financial oversight of the undergraduate chapter and so many other responsibilities. I'm back to school full-time, working full-time, managing a very healthy relationship, planning my wedding, taking care of my dog, and trying to be an uncle. And the only way I keep it all together still is lists on top of lists. I'm as busy as I've always been, and if I didn't have these lists to keep it together, there's no possible way that I could survive. And thank God I've turned this mindset around from something that was toxic to something that gives me hope and something to strive and work towards. But one thing I've noticed is that I don't put my friends on a list. And partially that's because it just feels wrong. But because I'm so goddamn busy all the time, I haven't had time to maintain friendships most of my adult life. And most people seem to have a really hard time understanding just how much each other's responsibilities really weigh on us. And it makes me yearn for a creative friend, a friend that wants to come in and do these creative outlets with me and engage in this sphere, because it is just so much easier to find friends that share these kind of similar interests, but it's not what I'm finding. I've definitely lost out on a few new friendships in the last year because I went back to school and I wasn't able to hang out a few times, and then we never really spoke again. When I talk about walking away from my fraternity, nobody ever believes me, and it's so frustrating. They always say they know that I won't stop, but they don't seem to understand how incredibly lonely it's been for me. Since I've joined, I've gone from one position to the next, from freshman class president, academic and philanthropy chair, then I was secretary, then president and recruitment director, then co-lead advisor as an alumni, and then I immediately joined as the alumni board president. You'd think I'd have this built-in way to have friends with being a member of a fraternity and being as involved as I have been. But as my therapist says, it's really hard to be friends with people that you're in a position of authority over. So I really am ready to be done. I can't exactly see a line of people ready to step up to take over and manage the same things that I have managed for so long. But it's time for me to reclaim even just some small amount of time to try and have friends again, to try and build relationships with people. And don't get me wrong, it is not some small amount of time. If I can successfully actually walk away from this responsibility that I've held on, that's 10 to 20 hours I've been putting in every single week for the last 9 years. And I need that time back. So yeah. Anyway, lists help me survive the insanity that is my schedule and the laundry list of responsibilities that I have, for whatever reason, continued to maintain my entire adult life. Nice little tangent over. I had some other ways this episode could have gone, and I ended up not doing those, but I still wanted to talk about them. I could have talked about how I have lists to keep me organized in my world building process, and how it's actually helped in this weird way to keep me being creative with Alorm, which is organized and list-like as it has ever been, and yet it has been such a messy process. I could have gone so far into this world building. I could have talked about how I have lists of nostalgic purposes, like games, and that I knew my grandpa played when I wanted to try out video games as a kid, and now I want to try them out to just experience what it was like to play these games and kind of put myself in this mindset and have this like weird way of connecting with him. And not to mention bringing back some of that kind of semblance of like childhood happiness, also a way of reconnecting with his hobby and finding a way to enjoy it. I could have talked about how lists have actually worked at times to help me with community building, whether it's going to talk about games or anime with people I've met, and having lists have been so helpful in finding things to talk about when I've met them, to talk about the similar things we've watched, things that we both want to watch, or things that they have that I haven't, and vice versa. And it has absolutely served as this mode of opportunity for community building and friendship that I absolutely could have gone all in on this episode. I could have talked more about how lists and my mental health have been intertwined most of my adult life, and that journey that I have undergone to change this from being unhealthy to it not being as unhealthy. Spoiler alert, it's a lot of therapy, and thankfully the pandemic also gave me a lot of time to just sit and stare at traffic to help me rethink about my life. I could have also talked about how these lists have helped me keep exploring new ideas and built a sort of continued curiosity mindset that keeps me always wanting to learn something new. But I didn't. So that's the little alcove of my mind recently.